It's another episode of the Brett Allen Show, and we are talking about, again, such a fantastic film, A Shot Through the Wall. We've had pretty much the entire cast on, and of course, we have the amazingly talented Ty Ma, who's going to be talking about this. This is just such a great film, but you know him from so many other amazing projects as well. Welcome to the show, my friend. It's great to have you here today.
It's nice to be here with you, Brett. Very cool. I've seen your show. You're great.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, I have to tell you, your background there is just absolutely beautiful. Is that an actual background, or is that a green screen? Because it's
It, it
gorgeous to view.
yeah, it's my mansion in Vancouver.
Okay, very nice. Uh, I love it. You're in mansion in Vancouver. Wonderful. Well, let's dig in about this film because it's been out now for a few days and I
Yes.
have had a chance to watch it prior to it releasing, but then of course
hmm
having other cast members on as well, and the response has just been really really good about this film, and the fact that you are addressing a lot of important conversations and
hmm
topics in this film, of course, and handling it in such a way that's just, I think, positive, but also, not sugarcoating the topics of
hmm
racism and police uh misconduct and just all kinds of things. How did you get involved with the tie, and sort of your experience with the project overall?
I got a message from Amy Longford, who wrote and well direct and also produced this movie. And I was so impressed by the way she presented, the script to me. And I said, you know what, this is an emerging talent. This is her first feature, and I feel that her writing was exquisite, and the fact that it's so complex, and that the fact that she did not just focus on what the media is looking at, which is all the big pictures of the demonstrations of the incident itself. She peeled back the curtain and we see what's behind the scene, what's happening to the people who are orbiting around this particular main character that's going through such hardship, and it's about the family. And the family is, we never see that in anything that so far from all the real cases that we've been witnessing. We very seldom see the family life,
Yeah.
and now the audience is going to get an opportunity to see, you know and all how much it echoes, and it's like a little pebble dropping to the water, and it kind of radiates out, and it affects so many people. So I think I really appreciated the fact that in this huge canvas, we're able to focus in on these details, on what happens to us as a family. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a very good point because, again, oftentimes we get, you know, when it comes to a film like this, we get
Mhm.
the incident itself and
Yes.
perhaps the victim and
Mhm.
the
That's right.
antithesis of what happens, but
That's
really not so much the family, which I thought was so good about this film, is that you get to
right.
see that side of things too. And there's really a lot of depth in texture to the story, which I
Mhm.
think is important because it humanizes the situation and goes, even though a lot of these types of events have happened even currently in history, the
Mhm.
fact that we're getting this other piece, I think, is important to a story like
Mhm.
this.
Absolutely, and another point that Amy really got a chance to explore is an interracial relationship,
Yeah.
because our community's always been intertwined. Is that nobody ever explored in that kind of a allegorical way, where we're seeing, the fact that we function, in the same space. What happens to us,
Yeah.
and I think that is a really valuable, imagery and lesson that we can kind of see and learn from, what happens to us in a very personal level. It's about people with people.
Yeah, and I think, having this been her first outing,
Mm,
creating a feature film and really gathering the acting power behind it, and of
Mm,
course, telling an honest story. I think hopefully maybe other films, Hollywood in
mm,
general, will kind of take a look at this and go, "Hey,
mm,
we can tell these stories in an honest way,
mhm,
and not just kind of skirt under the rug, so to speak."
mhm,
Some of the important topics such as interracial relationships,
mhm.
racism,
Gotcha.
police misconduct, and stuff. And I think you resolve the story really well, and sort
Um,
of it's a satisfying ending. If not like a typical,
yes.
okay, we're just kind of resolving storylines, and then let's see what winds up happening. But there's
Mhm.
accountability where it needs to be accountability and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. It's a great film. I mean, you have to be proud of it. I mean, of all the work that you've done, I think this has to be in your arsenal as far as like
Mm.
great work, because it's a really good film, I think.
Well, thank you very much. And really, all credit go to Amy, because like as we say, it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. So she's written a beautiful script, and we're able to write it. I mean, and one thing about good writing is that don't mess it with too much. Just
Yeah.
ride the wave. Let it carry you. To the promised land. Really, and I'm so proud of her, and the cast really delivered. And obviously, Brett, independent film is not exactly easy to do.
No.
It's like going into a rink and tie one hand behind your back, so that's not exactly a fair fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
you
really,
know,
yeah, it's a minor miracle when these things happen. Yeah.
it is. It really is because again, you just have a hard time you know, whether it be money or whatever the case might
Mm,
be, there's just a lot of factors. Now, comparing this obviously to work that you've done, such, Man in the High Castle or Kung
mm,
Fu or Mulan, or, just really some of these highlights here. When you're approaching a project like this, that's an independent film, I'm assuming your approach is and mindset has to be the same as far as like you want to just do the best that you can, right? Or maybe is it different when you're tackling these different types of projects in independent films, say versus like a commercial project or a studio picture like Mulan and
mm.
things like that?
Sure, sure, sure. I think we understand. I mean, I've been around for a hot minute, so I kind of know what to expect, and I know it. We're going in with a limited budget, and time is valuable. So it allows me less time, to prepare. I know it's going to allow us less time to really explore. So I really need to go in there with really literally my guns loaded. So I really need to deliver, because I know every take is important, and we can't afford so many. So, so I know I better deliver on the first couple. Otherwise, I may not get the opportunity. So I work harder, because I know given the budget, that allows me to have the opportunity to explore all day long. Doing a Coen brother
Yeah.
film, I could do 1,000 takes. It's all good because there's money behind it, right? But as for Shot in the Wall is concerned, I know that the ensemble really understood that we need to deliver in the first couple of takes.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that a Coen Brothers film, or even something like 24.
Yeah.
Where you
Mm,
had such a huge role in that. It's different because I understand that was a great show to be on, but
mm.
also it's a run and gun type thing where they're
Yes,
really trying to just put out as many episodes because there's a lot happening in that story, where whether like a character like yourself who plays the heavy and you're going up against, Kiefer, any of those people, you just have to have that mindset of like we're going to get in and get this done.
that's right.
'Cause I've heard it said before, you don't want to be the one necessarily holding things up, especially when you're under tight time constraints,
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, and it's like television is tight too. It's TV show and movies. There's a slight difference. So TV is like like the bullet train. Once it leaves the station, you better get going. because you're gonna miss it. Yeah. So really, it's a different experience. Yeah.
Yeah, well, all of things that you've done are great. What has been like the best advice, of course, that you've been given in the trajectory of your career that has sort of sustained you and sort of kept you going and staying on this path as a storyteller?
I think you really need to be very discriminate. Don't do anything and everything. Do the thing that really means something to you. And I think you develop a skill to see, discern whether the script is a good script that you can do something with. Some scripts are very difficult. And you may not want to spend that kind of time. And I think really, ultimately the bottom line is what tickles your heart. And if that happens, then by all means jump in. You may not get paid very well, but you know what, those are the ones that you want to do. Eventually you'll get paid.
Yeah, when you started out, did you find yourself just wanting to work all the time and just do as many things as you could, or were you that way from the beginning as far as being selective in your projects, Ty?
I think pretty much. I think particularly early on was very easy because you'll see that each project is a stereotype or not. It's very
Right.
clearly defined back in the day, but right now it's actually more complex. Now you kind of really have to dig a little deeper to really find the gem. But back in the day, you immediately when you see a script within the first few pages, that I don't know, man. I don't know if I can, unless there's something that you see in the first few pages where what I can salvage the script in some way,
Okay.
and then you walk into the room and say, "Listen, this is what I'm thinking. If there's any way that you guys can accommodate what I'm thinking, then I'm your guy. But if not, then we shake hands. Thank you for seeing me, and then I walk out the room."
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting that you say that because you could have maybe come across a script early on in your career where you go, oh, okay,
Hmm.
I've seen this 100 times before,
Hmm.
but really having that freedom from the director or even in the room at the time, going,
Hmm.
is there any way that we can sort of correct this stereotype?
Yes.
I mean, it happens a lot. I'm
Hmm.
certain, and I guess that's where you have to rely upon your skill set or
Hmm.
your mastery of being as an actor and storyteller and going,
Hmm.
there's something I can add to this,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
versus like it's just a typical bad guy, or whatever
Yes.
the case might be, you know what I mean? Or I don't know,
Absolutely.
there could be a
Absolutely.
million different things, so
But once I think what happens is, like you and I having a conversation, right? So if I walk in the room and then I don't say anything, you're not gonna know what's going on with me.
yeah,
And then you don't have nothing. You have no interview, you have nothing. So I think it's important for you to say something, because then when you do, you're going to get a response, rather favorable or not. It doesn't matter because what matters is you want a response. So if the response is negative, then you don't need to, nobody twisting your arm. It's okay. You can make money other ways, you know,
yeah.
like Hollywood Shuffle, so you can always get a job at the post office. It's like, no, I'm serious.
Yeah,
Like it's never. A lot of times people say, "Oh, I need the job. I need the money," but you know what? There are other ways to make money. I don't think you need to compromise that way. If it's going to be that detriment to your soul, then I
sure,
would
yeah.
suggest don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you do something, it's out there and it's there. Like there's no coming back from that, right? Because I
It's
mean, if I
forever.
Google your name on YouTube, I'm gonna see. I mean, you've done
Yes.
over 100 and some projects, which is huge.
Yeah.
So like you've been out there, and it's not just like
Hmm.
these necessarily one and done type characters. Although you've done a few of those, but also you've been a part of other television projects where you've had series roles and arcs, and
Hmm. Yes.
and I think your work stands the test of time because again, you can tell when somebody does something, whether it's like, oh, I need the money versus like,
Hmm.
a project. And you hear actors talk about that all the time where they're like, God,
Yes.
I wish I hadn't done that. Do you have any of those moments where you've been a part of things where you're like, well, I did it, but I didn't necessarily have the greatest time, or are you just enjoy it's I mean, I gather you're very thoughtful about the work that you pick, even going back to like the very beginning for you.
Well, even for for an actor, the hands, our hands are tied too because it's out of
Yeah,
our control. We can
sure.
only do the best job we can, and then the outcome is the outcome. And sometimes there are projects I've done that I said, "Oh my God, it came out like that. Oh Lord have mercy, what am I going to do now?" But there's nothing you can do because that's forever. We could be long and gone, man. Somebody gonna dig it up and go, that thing you did. Oh my God, and then say, "Okay, I know, but it was out of my hands, right?" So really, in a lot of ways, we don't have that much control, really. Until ultimately the finished product is the finished product. So you hope that the choices you make is a good one, and the people you work with are the ones that are honorable, that are trustworthy, that are able to tell the story in a meaningful way. So that's fingers crossed, right? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, no. Well, I tell you what, this film is absolutely spectacular. It's shot through the wall. It's available for people to watch now and stream. And Ty has a million other amazing projects out there as well. If you haven't watched them, please make sure that you do. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It's been an honor chatting with you.
Thank you, Brett. Really nice for you to have me just chatting, like openly. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Great show.
Absolutely.